Chapter 1. The Crimson Dawn. The month of May painted the lands of the Algonquin people in vibrant strokes. Towering ancient trees stood as sentinels over a carpet of wildflowers, their colors a feast for the eyes. The sky mirrored the deep, endless blue of the sea. Nova, the cherished daughter of Chief Ahanu, was a princess of this bountiful land. Her father was a powerful and respected leader of the Algonquin tribe. At 11 years old, Nova possessed a spirit as bright as the morning sun. Her dark hair flowed like a midnight river, her eyes held the depth of the forest, and a single feather adorned her hair, a symbol of her grace. She wore a simple dress of soft buckskin and walked in quiet moccasins. Her days were filled with joy. She would race through the forest, her laughter echoing through the trees, and dance in the open fields under the warm sun. Often she would sit upon the highest hill, her gaze lost in the vast expanse of the blue sea, dreaming of worlds unknown. On the 6th of May, 1607, as Nova sat in her favorite spot on the hill, a strange sight appeared in the bay. It was a colossal sailing ship, a creation unlike anything she had ever witnessed. It seemed to have captured the clouds in its huge white sails and flew flags of unfamiliar colors. Surprise and curiosity washed over her. She watched it for a long time, her mind racing with questions. Where did it come from? What purpose did it have here? A surge of excitement propelled her to her feet. She ran back to her village, her heart pounding, eager to share the news with her father and brother. "Father, father," she exclaimed, breathless, "there is a great ship in the bay. It has sails as white as snow and colorful flags." Chief Ahanu, a tall man with long dark hair and the feathered headdress of his station, stood outside his longhouse. He listened to his daughter's words, but his expression was not one of joy. "The white men are here, Nova," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "This is dark news for our people. Where they walk, peace does not follow." Cale, Nova's older brother, was an 18-year-old warrior, strong and brave. He looked at his sister, his face grim. "In the past, these people have brought death to our kin. They covet our land." "Oh, Cale, let us go see them," Nova pleaded, her curiosity overpowering her fear. "Let's go see their magnificent ship." Her father considered her request. "You may go and look," he finally conceded, "but do not go near the ship. Stay a safe distance away. Be cautious, Nova. Remember, the white men can be dangerous." Nova and Cale made their way to the river, where many canoes were moored. They chose a small one, and Cale paddled skillfully down the river and into the bay. There, the great sailing ship loomed before them, a giant from another world. A tall man with hair the color of fire stood on its deck. He smiled at them. Other men were with him, all staring at the small canoe and its two occupants. Nova, ever trusting, smiled back. "Let's go closer to the ship," she whispered. "No," Cale said firmly. "It is too dangerous. We do not know these men. We will observe from here and then return home. We must obey our father." The red-haired man on the ship smiled again. "Look, Cale," Nova urged. "His skin is pale and he is smiling at us. And look at their clothes. They are so peculiar." Cale turned the canoe and began to paddle back up the river. When they returned, he reported what they had seen. Chief Ahanu gathered his advisors and medicine men inside the longhouse. They deliberated for a long time. "The white men bring trouble," Ahanu declared. "They possess a strange magic and carry sticks that make thunder and kill our people. They want our land, our lakes, our rivers, and our forests. They may stay for a short while, but they cannot remain here forever. We will watch them and see what they intend to do." Chapter 2. A Fateful Encounter. Captain Arthur Vance and his crew were relieved to have reached the Chesapeake Bay. Their goal was to found a small settlement, a foothold in this new world. Captain Vance named the great river the Azure River in honor of his king. And on May 13, 1607, they established the settlement of Veridian. In Veridian, the settlers hastily constructed huts, a storehouse, and a church. The initial population was about 100 men, most of them English gentlemen who had come seeking gold and fortune, not a life of hard labor. They had no interest in farming. Captain Vance grew frustrated with their idleness. "You must all contribute," he commanded. "Plant crops, hunt, and fish. Laziness will be the end of us here." Food in Viridian was scarce. One day, Captain Vance led a small party into the forest in search of sustenance. After a long trek, they encountered a large group of Algonquin warriors. An arrow flew, and the forest erupted into chaos. The warriors attacked, killing one of Vance's men. In the ensuing fight, Vance and his men killed 2 warriors before they were overwhelmed. Captain Vance was captured and taken away. He was brought before Chief Ahanu and the entire tribe. A tense silence fell over the village. Nova stood beside her father, her eyes fixed on the captive. He was tall, with fiery red hair, eyes the color of the sky, and skin unlike any she had ever seen. He was so different from the men of her tribe. Using a combination of sign language and the few native words he knew, Arthur Vance addressed the chief. "Great chief, I come in peace. My men and I wish to live in harmony with your people." But Ahanu and his medicine men were not convinced. Vance, in a gesture of goodwill, offered a compass to the chief. Ahanu took the curious object, turning it over in his hands. He was mesmerized by the needle, which always pointed in the same direction, no matter how he turned the device. He tried to touch it, but a clear, hard substance, like ice that wasn't cold, blocked his finger. Ahanu perceived it as powerful magic. The entire tribe gathered to look at the compass, marveling at the white man's sorcery. Nova was fascinated by Arthur Vance and his magic, but her father's heart remained hard. That very afternoon, Arthur and his men had taken 2 lives. Justice had to be served. "He must die," Ahanu declared. 2 warriors forced Arthur to the ground, placing his head on a large flat stone. Another warrior raised a heavy stone club, ready to deliver the final blow. Seeing this, Nova cried out, "No, father, please don't kill him. He is not an evil man." "He and his men killed 2 of our people," Ahanu replied sternly. "He must pay the price." As the warrior prepared to strike, Nova acted.
"No!" she screamed, leaping forward and shielding Arthur's head with her own body. "Please, father, he must not die. Spare him." Ahanu looked at his beloved daughter, her small body trembling but resolute. Her bravery moved him. He immediately ordered the warriors to stop. A murmur of astonishment went through the crowd. Nova's courage had saved Arthur Vance's life. From that day forward, an unlikely friendship blossomed between them. Arthur taught her English, and she taught him the Algonquin language. He gave her gifts of beautiful beads and small trinkets, and told her stories of London, a city with buildings so tall they touched the sky. Nova listened, captivated by his tales. "The King of England is our leader," Arthur explained. "He lives in a magnificent palace." "What do the English ladies wear?" Nova asked, her curiosity piqued. "They wear long, colorful dresses with shoes and hats, and they adorn themselves with jewels." "Are they beautiful?" she asked with a smile. "Some are beautiful, and some are not," Arthur replied with a laugh. Nova laughed with him, her mind filled with dreams of the faraway city of London. Chapter 3. A Winter of Despair. The sweltering summer gave way to the crisp air of autumn. The settlers in Viridian had failed to store enough food for the coming winter. Many fell ill, growing weak and frail. They were desperate for help. When winter's cold grip tightened, there was nothing left to eat. Seeing their plight, Nova took action. She pleaded with her father to share their stores of corn, meat, and other provisions. With her father's blessing, Nova and other members of her tribe carried large baskets of food to Viridian. The courageous princess was the lifeline that helped the settlers survive the harsh winter. However, the arrival of more ships from England troubled Chief Ahanu. The increasing number of white men felt like an invasion. He feared for the future of his people. One winter's day, Ahanu sent a messenger to Viridian with a summons for Captain Vance. Arthur followed the messenger to Ahanu's village and sat with the chief in his longhouse.
"We have no more food to spare for your people," Ahanu said bluntly. "You must all leave this land now." "Why must we leave?" Arthur asked. The two men debated for a long time. At midnight, Ahanu said, "It is late. You can sleep in the small cabin by the river." Arthur accepted and went to the cabin to rest. In the dead of night, he heard a sound at the door. He opens it to find Nova. "What a surprise to see you, Nova. Please come in." "Oh, Captain Vance, your life is in danger," she whispered urgently. "My father and the medicine men plan to kill you tonight. They do not want the white people to stay here. You must flee now." "Dear Princess," Arthur said, his voice filled with gratitude, "you are saving my life yet again. How can I ever repay you?" "There is no time. Go now. Save yourself." Nova touched his hand for a moment, then disappeared into the darkness. Arthur fled the cabin and made his way back to Viridian under the cover of night. When he arrived, he told the settlers how Nova had, for a second time, saved his life. Not long after this harrowing event, Captain Vance returned to England. In Nova's village, a rumor spread that he had been killed in a gunpowder explosion. Everyone believed he was dead. Chapter 4: The Price of Peace. More and more settlers arrived, and Viridian, now part of the Virginia colony, expanded. Chief Ahanu, seeing the endless tide of newcomers, grew angry and declared war on the colony. The land was torn by fighting. Nova was now 17. To protect his daughter from the conflict, Ahanu sent her to live with the Potomac tribe, who were on friendly terms with the white settlers. "You must stay with them, Nova," he instructed. "Do not go to Viridian. We are at war." Nova obeyed, finding a semblance of peace with the Potomac people. The tribe was led by Chief Torrin, whose wife became a close friend to Nova. Chief Torrin and his wife were also friends with Captain Marcus Thorne, an English explorer from Viridian. One day, Captain Thorne visited the Potomac village. When he saw Nova, a plan formed in his mind. He invited the chief and his wife, along with Nova, to visit his ship. "Come see my vessel," he offered warmly. "I have many interesting things to show you, and we can share a meal." "You are very kind," said Nova, excited by the prospect. "I would love to see an English ship." Captain Thorne led them aboard his large sailing ship. They marveled at the tall masts and white sails, and he served them a delicious meal. As the sun began to set, Chief Torrin and his wife departed in a canoe. But Nova was held back. She had been tricked. She was Captain Thorne's prisoner. "Why can't I go with my friends?" she asked, confused. As she looked at the departing canoe, she saw Chief Torrin's wife holding a new copper kettle and a basket overflowing with colored beads. They had betrayed her. The kettle and beads were their payment for her capture. Tears streamed down Nova's face. She had no true friends here. "What is happening? Why am I a prisoner?" she demanded. "I mean you no harm, Nova," Captain Thorne said. "I am taking you to Viridian. You will be held there until your father returns the weapons he has taken from us. Once he does, you will be free to return home. He loves you. Surely he will return the weapons for your sake." Though a prisoner, Nova was not afraid. She was taken to Viridian, where the people welcomed her. They remembered how she had saved Captain Vance's life twice, and how she had brought them food during that terrible first winter. Everyone was kind to her. The women gave her English clothes, and in them she was a striking young woman. She learned English customs and manners and made many new friends. She converted to Christianity and was given the name Eleanor. Her father, however, did not return the weapons. He sent some corn and a few broken muskets, but the war raged on. Captain Thorne's plan had failed, but he kept Nova in Viridian. She was his prisoner, but she was not unhappy. She enjoyed her new life and the opportunity to learn something new every day. After many months, she met Thomas Dale, a quiet and kind young tobacco farmer. He was gentle with her, and they fell in love. They wanted to marry, but first Nova wished to have her father's blessing. Together, she and Thomas traveled to visit Ahanu. The great chief was overjoyed to see his daughter.
"Father, this is Thomas Dale," she said. "I met him in Viridian. He is a good man, and I love him. I am going to marry him." Ahanu looked at his daughter, no longer a child, but a woman.
"It is time for you to marry the man you love," he said, embracing her and Thomas. In April of 1614, Nova and Thomas Dale were married in the Anglican Church. She was the first Native American to marry a white man. She wore a beautiful white gown with flowers in her hair, and her face shone with happiness. The entire settlement of Viridian celebrated their union with music, dancing, and a great feast. Katiel and many others from her tribe came to celebrate. At the wedding meal, white men and natives sat together around a long table, sharing food and laughter as friends. Nova's marriage ushered in an era of peace for the Virginia colony, allowing it to prosper and grow. Soon after, she and Thomas, along with their infant son Leo, traveled to London. Nova was astounded by the sights of England. She wore elegant English clothes and was presented at court. Everyone, including the king himself, was charmed by the Algonquin princess. In London, in a reunion that felt like a dream, Nova met Captain Arthur Vance again after many years. It was a wonderful, bitter surprise. They spoke of their shared past, of the adventures and dangers they had faced together in Viridian. But the happiness was short-lived. After the birth of her son, Nova fell gravely ill. She passed away in England in 1617 at the tender age of 21. Her death was a tragedy, and she was mourned by many who remembered the brave princess from a distant land. Her young son, Leo, was raised in Britain by an uncle. Thomas Dale, heartbroken, could not bear to stay in England without her. He returned to Virginia and dedicated himself to his tobacco plantation, becoming a very successful farmer. Years later, when Leo was a grown man, he left Britain and journeyed to America to see the land of his mother. He met her tribe and reconnected with his heritage. He chose to remain in the New World, and today, in Virginia, there are still descendants of Leo, the son of the Algonquin princess Nova.